Alright guys, here's the gear for Austere August as we continue on through the month. As usual, same stuff. Chiseled face Midnight Stag for the soap, splash, and cologne at the end of the shave. The Gillette Nacet 562 will be the count for today's shave for that blade. The brush is the B13 from Declaration Grooming knot. Handle is by Dogwood Handcrafts and Briar Brushworks. It's a hybrid handle, got some sparkles in the kind of clear-ish part, and then a nicely dark stained wood grain part there. Really nice. I like Dogwood's hybrid handles. I think a lot of them are really pretty. And lastly, the razor, the timeless open comb stainless steel 68 gap razor. And this is the knurled handle. And it is kind of, I wish almost like it were a little less grabby on my fingers, but that disappears once you start shaving, and the moisture, wetness gets on your hands and stuff, and you're just not going to drop this. And at the end of the shave, it doesn't feel like it's too abrasive, but like when I'm holding it just around, it does tend to be grabby on some cloths and things like that. One of the things I've done with some of the cheaper handles is to take a piece of wood and just pretend like the handle is a file and use that to hopefully back off the little edges to where it's more comfortable. Don't know that I'll ever do that on this really nice handle from Timeless though. We'll see. Alright, so here's the Nacet. And today, as I was thinking about, can we do something different in the process today? We've done a few normal shaves, and just recently I did a slurry lather shave, and I think today let's use a different bowl. This is one that I just got this weekend at the this past weekend at the thrift shop, and it's got a website on it, Orient Garden Restaurant, since 1997, and I don't know where that is. I've never been there. This was just at a thrift shop, and what I liked was just the kind of the coloring of the blue and the red dragons. I like that kind of that theme, and I like the size of the bowl here, and I wasn't even thinking about trying it as a lather bowl, and it's got this neat white look to it that's just a little different than some of the others. And then I like the shape. It should be good to eat, pasta or whatever out of, and rice and different dishes. And so I thought, hey, it was just $1 or $2, and but then I get it back here, get it back home, and then I decided, look, it's actually really close in size to my preferred 3D printed lather bowl. I mean, really close in size. And so I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to do a little experiment because of the ridges that are in this bowl, and then you've got micro ridges because it was 3D printed as well. This is a kind of an airy lather. It doesn't really get, unless you really run it dry, it doesn't really get creamy. And so could this textureless bowl, it's just glossy, could this maybe change the lather? Now, I've done experiments with that in the past with other soap bases, maybe with this soap base, and it hasn't really changed anything. Whether I was using a textured bowl or a smooth bowl, it didn't change the lather. But we'll try it again. Why not try something different? Usually the textured bowl can speed up the process just a little bit. But I've always said, once I did a bunch of bowl research, I said it's more important to have the size and the shape of the bowl that's right for what you want, rather than any kind of specific texture inside. So let's just use this guy and see what we get with just kind of a standard bowl lather. We've got the blade in, me get my face wet. We'll do loading. What have I done lately? Maybe 15 swirls, something like that. It'll probably be more than I need. But it won't be too much more than I need. I mean, it won't waste a lot of soap. It's got a lot of water in here. Let's get it down to kind of a lightly wet state. Let's try 12. Let's reduce it down from 15. 1, 2, 3. 12 swirls. So we'll see, does that give us enough lather? And one of the things that the 3D bowl has that's a benefit is that that center part in the middle is a bump. And so the benefit is that it keeps the brush from slinking down into the bowl and getting the handle all messy. Now, one disadvantage to having a white bowl is it's going to be a little more difficult for you guys to see the lather. So you might be able to see it a little bit. So it foamed up with big bubbles right away. That's kind of to be expected. And even if you don't have a textured surface on the base of the bowl, your brush bristles as you kind of crash from one end of the bowl to the other, that is going to agitate the lather almost as much as you need it to, you know. So still very bubbly, but they're micro bubbles. So at this point, we're probably just working on integrating all the soap that was loaded into the water that was in the brush. And we are increasing in quantity. Now you can start to see a little bit of formations where it's holding itself up. It's getting some structure as we're mixing things. And the good news is it doesn't look like it's going to be a bunch of wasted lather, so that's nice. I'm just going to start a little water trickle here and add a little bit of water. But it's not any more creamy than it usually would be. So yeah, I think we're proving my past experience where the 3D textured bowl is not really adding, you know, any kind of air to the lather that a smooth bowl is not doing the same thing. But I like the weight of this. I like the sound. You don't hear that that you do with the 3D bowl since it's plastic. So that part I like. And it seems to be about the right size. It is, I'm generating plenty of lather and it's not overflowing. So boy, if I didn't have my 3D bowl, this one really might be a favorite. Let's put a little, it's still got some structure, so let's try to get a little bit more creaminess in there by adding some more water. Creaminess, I mean kind of fluidity in texture, and then of course that would slickness in terms of on my face. So let's do a lift where we kind of pull everything up, so you can see it, see the texture. So let's just stop with that. That seems maybe about right. Yeah, that's not wasted lather, so maybe 12 was just right in terms of loading, 12 swirls. All right, guys. Sounds like you can hear, if you can hear that sound, that often means that I could add more water if I wanted. But it's pretty close to being all right. And in fact, I may not want to add more water because just, yep, see, look, that's the sound of that brush slinking down into the lather. So what you could do is you could glue some of the decorator beads to the bottom of a bowl. I happen to have one nearby because I tried that on another bowl, but they keep breaking off, you know, because it's smooth surface to smooth surface, and so I need to get some real epoxy, like some real two-part epoxy, probably, or maybe silicone. I think maybe next thing to try is silicone. All right. Now I'm going to kind of try to leave a bit of water on my face after this rinse. To help what is in the bowl here to be a little more hydrated. Now with these textured, with these smooth bowls and how things get soapy, you can see we've got some soap there. Be extra careful for obvious reasons. It would be easy to slip and let this bowl come crashing down on the sink. I bet I could possibly kind of try to make the knot a little symmetrical and push it straight down. See how it's round? Push it straight down in the middle and maybe it would stay up vertical. Keep that handle a little clean because the other day I dropped the brush because the handle had gotten so soapy. As always, a nice light technique. Don't resist the temptation if you use a blade many times to apply more pressure. Just do more passes or change your directional stroke instead of more pressure. That lets me be able to switch back and forth between a marathon blade and a brand new one and not hurt myself. think that was pass number 3. Maybe it was 2. So I've got plenty of lather to do what I want, but not wasting too much. Probably 2 or 3 passes will go down the drain. And yeah, now that my hand's wet, that little kind of catchy texture on the handle, it feels just fine. Not great residual slickness like I had yesterday with the slurry lather, but that's just kind of why I like the slurry lather, especially for this soap base, because it seems to lay down the soap on your skin separately from the water, separately enough to where more soap ends up getting on your skin within plenty of hydrating water, kind of on top of that as a second layer. I mean, obviously a little bit of mixing has happened, but with this one, which is kind of a completely mixed lather, the soap is spread throughout the layers that are on your face. And with the slurry, I think it puts more of the soap as a concentrated layer on your skin, and that is what gives it a different level of slickness. All right. We'll rinse. Yeah, probably about 3 or 4 more passes of lather in there. So 12. Didn't quite need to load 12 swirls. But this is the same kind of bowl lather that I get with my 3D bowl. And so it answers a couple of questions. One, are you missing out by not buying some kind of special textured bowl? No, you're not really missing out. Same lather. It just maybe takes a little bit longer to generate. Maybe a minute longer, maybe 2 minutes longer, if that. And then the other thing it answered was, would a smooth bowl deliver a creamier textured lather with this soap base? And for now at least, the answer is no. It's the same kind of airy lather that I get most of the time. And there we go. Nice close shave. Sure, I'd be able to get closer in fewer passes with a younger blade, but my goal for this blade and this marathon is just scientific curiosity. And I think many of us have learned some things from this little experiment. Yeah, how many shaves can I get from a blade? How many reasonable shaves? So there we go. So 562, that is now. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to have to be especially careful when rinsing the bowl as I'm flipping it over and turning out the contents to rinse it out. And as I'm holding it, I'll have to be very careful about that. So here's the suds that were left. There's a little bit left in the bowl, but That's a good bit of it, and it's airy, and so it's not wasting a lot of soap. So we don't need to be worried too much about conservation. Maybe half a penny or less probably is what we're throwing away. So let me get a good rinse on my face as well as my gear. And there we go. All clean. I'll have to go fetch that cap in a second. Go around the back of the neck if you feel like it. Spread that scent around. You can do your forehead if you have, especially if you have good, if you have an oily skin, then even if it's just a simple alcohol splash, then that could be helpful. But if it's got skin food like this does, that's nice, then that can help your other skin out as well. And then the Midnight Stag cologne. All right, there we go. Well, that, my friends, is it. I think I've talked about everything I wanted to. Hopefully you guys get a little bit from the nuggets that kind of pop into my brain during the shaves. Thank you for joining me this August. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.